Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Popular Unknown Paintball Live. I miss my animated screen that does all the fancy things when the show comes on. I'll have to dig that up and get that going. But I'm using the please stand by links just so that when I'm setting everything up so that I can post the link so you can all join me. Anyway, happy to have you. I'm already starting to ramble. What do you guys think? Do you like the camera above or do you like the previous when I had it down below? Please let me know about that when in the comments when you get the chance. Anyway, welcome to the show. I am very, very excited. I have Mike Boogie Bogolub. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I just call him Boogie. I've always called him Boogie. It's just I know him as Boogie. He's just Boogie. Boogie. And Boogie is probably my favorite guest of all time. Not that I like him better than anybody else, but the last time he was on the show, we just had so much fun. I had to have him back on. And now, because last time he didn't have a working camera, now he's got a camera. So why don't we just dispense with all the chit chat? Don't want to sound like Fred Schultz. And let's just get on to the show, shall we? Let's see if we can bring Mr. Boogie onto the screen. Hey, how you doing, Boogie?
All right, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. You can hear me good?
I can hear you good.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, according to this, we only have one person viewing at the moment and no comments, which is a bummer, but that's the joys you have when you start a new, essentially a brand new podcast on a brand new platform. So, this is where we're at, but all views are usually after the fact anyway. Normally, you only have a few, at least with me anyway. There's a reason why unknown is in my actual podcast name, and I make no qualms with that. Anyway, glad to have you. Like your shirt.
Oh yeah, yeah. You want to know what my one regret when I was coming up through paintball
You didn't get
is
bigger shirts?
buying shirts that fit. You buy double XL, buy triple XL. Don't buy the size that fits you. You're not going to be that size in 10, 15 years.
Right?
Unless your name is Thomas Taylor or something.
Right. Because that or Greenspan or, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way,
Frazee, those guys, they are eternally young. I love them.
as a very experienced ref, I'm sure you've heard Cliff Meyer of Discipline Lords.
No.
He was, well, anyway, he said hi. He
Did he?
is,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
So I know you can't
I
see the chat, so I'm just
Well,
saying.
no, is the thing is that I meet so many people over so many years, putting the names and faces together now at my age. I have a hard time with it. I
Yeah.
won't lie.
Well, Cliff and the Discipline Lords, is a Canadian reffing team, and he was in charge of it
Oh,
with the
oh,
Dragons, and they were the first international reffing team, and so they would
did they
travel.
happen to work? Did they happen to work the indoor in 2002 in Toronto at Skydome?
Yes,
That
I would assume.
I may have met them there.
Yeah,
That's a possibility because that was the one time I was in Canada doing my reffing gig. That was actually that particular gig was the very first event for the PRO, the Professional Refereeing Organization.
right.
That I think it was the owners of Angel, Jed, and those guys. They were the ones that put it up to get a refereeing organization together, and they got with Bill Cookston, and he gathered a bunch of us together. And that was our first event. We got there at 7:30 in the morning. And then we ref till 6 when we were supposed to leave because the other refereeing crew was going to come in. They failed the show. So we continued to ref until 1 a.m. or something like that. And then got to walk 4 or 5 blocks through lovely Toronto in February, I think it was.
Yeah,
I'm from
sounds about right.
I'm from Florida. I was not happy, to say the least.
How do you think we feel when we come down south?
Fry like bacon, I hope. I don't go up there anymore. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, no. Cliff said we sure did, and we did meet. So
Excellent.
You
And that
probably
but you
would
know what the
recognize.
funnest thing about that? The funnest thing about that event as a ref is when you knee slid, you could go for 40 yards on that
Yeah, you'd
indoor-outdoor cart
stop in the
you had.
next field.
Oh,
You
you
go
just go,
straight under
"Shing."
the net,
Oh,
next field.
I was having so much fun. I burned the holes in both of the pants I wore that weekend because I was having a blast. Just
Yeah,
sliding in to grab people out. I was just like catching the armband as I slid by. And if
yeah,
there was a
that's why your knee
penalty, I
pads
could get to
wore
the
out.
next guy without getting up. I just slide by and get to the next guy.
Um, Cliff said, "Yeah, I remember that. We were all at the Strathmere Hotel.
Is that what it was? I
Yeah,
don't know. I was not happy though.
Cliff has a brain like a steel trap. Like he's
Good.
yeah.
I'm glad somebody remembers all this stuff.
You know what we ought to do? What we ought to do? We ought to get you, and we'll get Cliff, and let's see if we can get a couple. Well, maybe we can get Anthony from England, and we can have like a referee podcast, just old time
Oh,
referees talking
you want to
smack.
put me and Ant together on a podcast? Good
Y-
idea.
Yeah, but
Um,
oh, you and Ant don't get along, or you get along too
oh
well?
no, 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 no! You're gonna have issues. Um, but well, let's see. Right now for Ant, it's like 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3.
I don't
It's
care about
3 in the
his
morning.
needs.
It's like 2 or 3 in the morning there right now.
Yeah, I don't care about his needs.
Yeah. Well, usually Ant's probably well in his younger days. Ant would still be up at this time. Now that he's getting old and soft, he's probably in bed by 9.
I- He makes me laugh. He makes me laugh so
Good
much.
man.
Yeah.
He's a good man. Me and him have had some good times together.
Well, Cliff, if you follow his Facebook, and if you don't, you should. Um, he does a lot of stuff for kids and in the hospital and stuff, and so he'll dress up like Gandalf, and he dresses up like
Oh,
Santa.
nice.
Yeah, he does a lot of really cool stuff, giving back to the community outside of paintball. So, and Cliff just said that would be awesome. Maybe an issue, but he would be up for it. Well, see, the cool thing about this show is I don't have to be live, like live. I can set up a time where we can all just sort of meet and I can pre record it and then I'll just upload it. Because 99% of my views happen after it happened anyway. I just like having a live show so that people can feel included.
Mm,
But
okay.
it's just, that was the way I was doing with Facebook. I'm seriously considered taking the show straight to just pre recorded. That way, it's easier. It's gonna be easier to get guests, and most of my views happen after the fact anyway. Another reason why is because this is paintball and we're live on YouTube. If I grab one of those markers down, the AI will see me moving a pew pew, and they'll immediately cut me off because they'll think that it's a real thing, and it'll just end the show.
Oh,
So
no kidding.
yeah,
Eh, You know what? Oh my God, this was, I want to say 1990.
okay,
Uh, Me and a teammate and his girlfriend were carrying the team's guns from one side of O'Hare Airport to the other.
right,
We had 3 bags with 22 Sheridan uh, pump guns in it. And
right.
we ended up having to go through a security checkpoint. Put them things on the conveyor belt. They went through the scanner, picked them up, and just kept on walking. I don't know whether the person who scanned those things knew what they were or even cared what they were. And they just, there were 22 of them in the, big old brass cannons in there. So I don't know.
Well, I know that when I flew to, I'm trying to think of which event it was during COVID. Anyway, I went to Billy Bishop Airport, which is, by the way, Billy Bishop's is the Canadian pilot that shot down the Red Baron. Um, and O'Hare is the other famous fighter pilot. Like, I love fighter pilot airports. Just call me silly. Anyway, Billy Bishop Airport is the one that's on the island. It's not Pearson, the big one. Um, and so they had me go through the scanner, and it was a new guard, and it went through, and I had an Eclipse E-Tech, and he just sort of looked like it. He goes, "What's in that?" I was like, "Paintball marker." He goes, looks like a gun. I said, it's a paintball marker. It's supposed to look like that. He goes, well, it's all taken apart. I was like, it's legal. What you have to watch for is that I make sure that I took the regulator off the compressed air so that there's no compressed air canisters, which which I will happily show you that I did. He goes, well, I'm going to have to get a supervisor because you can't. I'm like, well, actually you can, but I'm not fighting with you. Please get your supervisor because you're looking out for my safety and I appreciate that. But I promise you, everything is on the up and up. And he's like, you're being really cool about this. And I'm like, well, you are protecting me, and I appreciate that. You're wrong, but you're protecting me. So you're calling your supervisor, and we're going to get it all straightened out, and this is awesome. And he gets the supervisor. The supervisor goes, yeah, he's fine. And the you can see steam coming out of the security guard's ears a little bit, and I'm just sort of like, you have a great day, and thank you really very much for making sure that we're safe. I really do appreciate you, and I'm not being sarcastic. And he wanted to be mad, but I was being so nice to him. It was just
Kill him with kindness.
right, and that's the way you do it. All right,
Mhm.
Cliff actually made a message. He said, "Them guys across the prom would be up for a chat. Maybe we could get Roger from the UK Cougars." I'm down for that, Cliff. I don't want to get too many people on the show because everything gets a little funky. I like to try to keep it to myself and 1 to 2 guests as a general rule, but you get a bunch of people in the same camera, that's the same as having one guest, and so I'm good with that. Anyway, speaking of referees, you had an award named after you.
Yeah, at the paintball summit, they made the Mike Boogie, the Mike. They told me it was the Mike Boogie Bogolub Award, and it was really weird. I mean, I show up to Tampa to play the 10-man on Sunday. I show up Saturday, and they Rob Daniels uh, calls me and says, "Hey, you need to find me." Okay, I'll meet you over by the NXL fields. And he pulls me aside because the last time he told me something like that, they had made a jersey in my honor. There was the look that they were going for on the jersey, and they got the look from a picture of me, uh, the picture that was taken of me at Mardi Gras in 2003. But I thought it was going to be another jersey or something like that. And he says, "Oh no, we made this award, and with your name, and it's for being a good referee, and not only being a good referee at paintball events at your local fields and doing stuff outside of paintball, and always trying to promote the sport of paintball." I'm like, "Oh wow, that's great." The gentleman's name is Dennis Glitch, who
Okay.
won it. And then Rob proceeds to go, "Well, can you give the award away?" I go, "Well, when is it?" He says, 7:45 in the evening on Sunday. I said, "It's 7:45 in the evening on Sunday. I'm going to be at home in a coma because I have just played 10 man." And so he was kind enough to give the award away at the Summit Awards. But when the Summit Awards went down, you know how paintballers are and ceremonies, things get a little goofy and things get mixed up. And it was quite humorous because I think it was Brandon Blue, the photographer. "Oh, I'll get a picture of who won it." And he sent me a picture of this lady who I believe won something for, being in the NXL's, you know, their organization. One of the ladies doing something within it got an award for something. I don't know what it was, but I believe that's who he sent me the picture of. I said, "No, it doesn't look like Dennis." But yeah,
So,
no, he got the award and stuff. And what's funny is when I played in the World Cup 10 man, he was
right.
the head referee for that on the
Nice.
field I played. Oh yeah, that's where I met him. And then he got the award in Tampa. I was like, "Oh, this is great."
Now, for the people that don't know, which tournament is Summit?
It's the Summit Awards. It's some type of awards thing that they've put
Okay.
together that covers, the industry, the players, the people that put on the events. It's some type of awards thing they do. I think they vote on it from the year before, of what goes on the year before. And then the first tournament that they hold of the new year, they have the Summit Awards, and they give these awards away at that time. If I think that's how I it was explained to me, and I think that's the gist I got of it.
Got it.
Come on,
Like, I'm fairly sure you're right. I just wanted to hear you talk about it so
yeah,
that I don't.
it was really nice. I mean, it was a really nice event. They held it in Ybor City, and all the guys on my team were like, "Why Ybor City?" And I went, "Well, they still think it's 1990." It's changed a little bit. I don't know. I've never been there. That's what the guys on my team were saying, and I'm like, "Oh." And yeah, I have a really special paintball team. They're called the Cunning Stunts, and these guys are the best. They take me to these events. I'm more like a mascot, and they chuck me on the field and just laugh watching me play. And what I'm doing, I don't know if it's really playing or not, but I'm trying to make a go of it. And Brandon Blue seems to love taking pictures of me. And in from the World Cup, he made. You probably saw it. I posted it on Facebook. It's a little video clip of me playing, and Brandon has decided that the theme from the movie Boogie Nights would be perfect to add as a overlay for it. And I just giggle watching it because you watch a fat man run.
Well, I was gonna ask what the award looked like because I kind of figured it was like gonna be a short surfboard, with
I
your
don't. It was
face on
this
it.
yellow. It was this yellow looking thing. I never really have seen it. I am going to ask Dennis to bring it with him to World Cup, and if he can, and we're going to get a picture together with him holding this thing, so we can get a look at it, and I can post a picture of it. I'd really like to because as soon I never got any kind of notification. Rob told me his name, and I couldn't put the two together, and then the Summit Awards, they started posting them on Facebook. I'm like, oh, look, there's my award. There's the guy. So I posted on there and I messaged him, congratulating him. And then we started to talk. That's when I found out he was the head referee on the 10-man field at the World Cup. And I had met him there. And I was like, oh, this is great because he's a really nice guy. And, it's really nice to play these days because I play and the referees are, I don't I they take care of me. They keep an eye on me, make sure that I'm still breathing.
Absolutely. 1 second. Fred Schultz asked if I'm not on tonight, and so I just sent him a link because obviously I am. And Cliff said some of the awards are a joke, and I couldn't agree more. But then, really, with the exception of first, second, and third at a tournament, all paintball awards are a joke. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're flattering and they're fun and they're good to party with, but there's nothing really serious about what we do. It's just for the
Well,
fun of
the
it
thing
and the
is,
friends and
that's the way I always looked at it, and that's the way I approached it. I never realized that I was actually inspiring people. Like the team that I play for, all of those kids tell me of what an inspiration and stuff. I call them kids, they're in their 40s now. But when I played with them, they were all teenagers and stuff. And I
right.
never knew I was having an impression on them. And it was really funny. My team captain, Gordon, I got to meet his wife and child there at Tampa. And she says to me, she says, you're the guy he's always talking about. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's it's kind of flattering. I never really know how to react to it. It's kind of nice to hear and stuff, but
Yeah, but
I
there's
just,
there's just there's just certain people in this sport that are
I,
polarizing, I guess. I don't know how to. You're
I never, I
one,
never, I never thought I was one at all. When I looked at people like that, I'm looking at people like Rocky, Todd Adamson, guys like that. They have this magnetism about them.
well,
I never thought for a second I had any of that.
they do, but they're the 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 rock stars, right? Like there's
Yeah.
there and people look up to them and that's great. But there's another group of people like yourself, like Rosie, like Rick Wilcox, like
Oh,
Cliff Myers. Like they're not rock stars, but they're the backbone of paintball and they're just as important because even though because when you look at pro players as a general rule, I'm not saying everybody, but when you look at pro players, especially Dynasty, they stay together. They have to be focused. They have to go, fight, and then and you have to stay in the pocket if you're going to be competitive. And I don't, and that is not an insult in any way, shape, or form. They're there to do a job, do the job, right? Then you've got um the people that wish they were those people, and they're not. And then there's people like you and Rick Wilcox, and I would lump Bud Orr into this as well because he was more of a builder than a player. But you put so much into the sport, you'll say, you know what? Let's take the time. I want to help you do this or do that, or hey, buddy, if you tuck in a little bit here, or if you just wait a half a heartbeat and go, you know what I mean? Like just stuff like that, and it means something to people. It really, really does.
Oh, yeah, it does. And funny you mentioned Rosie, and that was one of the best things that had happened to me in a while. Is that Rosie was there for the Summit Awards, I believe, for a Lifetime Achievement Award, which
Right?
is well deserved by that man.
Yeah, yeah.
I hadn't seen him in 19 years, and I started crying on his shoulder and stuff. Man, it was one of those sobby moments. Ken snuck him in on me. Ken Donaldson. He
Yeah,
just
yeah.
didn't let me know he was doing that or anything. I didn't know anything about it. Next thing you know, I look up and there the two of them are, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And
Those guys are amazing.
I got a nice picture of the three of us together, and
I
me and
saw that.
Rosie got a chance to catch up and stuff. It was pretty sweet.
I saw that. That's actually it came up. I knew you were going to be on the show. That's why I got this hat because this is actually don't mind my Dave Wees Cook haircut.
I have tinted lenses, so this shine won't hurt my eyes.
There we go. But this is actually in remembrance of one of their fallen
Yeah,
master.
Dave.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But that's actually signed by Kevin and Rosie. So when I saw your
nice.
picture and you were being on, it's like I know what hat I'm wearing because it just has to happen.
Yeah. Those two guys are really good people.
Oh,
I
they're
am
the
so
best.
glad to have them as my friends.
You know what I love about Kevin? He tells it exactly the way it is, the way he thinks.
Mhm.
Like he's
There's no banding about it,
no,
straight and to the point.
and it doesn't matter if he likes you or he dislikes you. It's just right there. You know exactly where you stand with him. Pray to God that he likes you, because if you don't, there's just more. But
Nah, he's
I
a
love
good
that guy
man.
so much. He really is. He was one of the original supporters of my podcast,
Oh,
and
nice.
I think that if I was doing it a little more regularly, I think that I would see him following the show a little bit more. But Cliff is the awards at the summit in Las Vegas.
No, they held them in Ybor City this year. And where they're going to hold them next year, I don't have a clue. I'm really hoping, I hate to see, some people hate to see two events of the NXL in Florida every year, but the weather shows that, being there in the wintertime is not a bad place to be. And the fall's not a bad, you can hold an event without some catastrophic weather happening on top of your event. Then that's the problem when you're holding those summer events. You never know when it's going to get hit. Yeah,
See, I I'm ticked that there's no more events in Vegas. Just for starters.
Have you ever played in Vegas?
Pardon?
Have you ever played in Vegas?
Yeah, once.
Yeah, how were your sinuses after you got done playing in Vegas?
See, my sinuses are
You try. You love the dry and crusty sand crusted nose for 3 days. I don't.
my
This beak fills with a lot of sand.
yeah. I'm from up north where we go an entire 3-4 months where there's almost no precipitation other than snow, so any moisture in the air freezes and drops. So that's not really an issue, and sand is better than ice. Just
Well, and the other thing is people like to play on grass, and grass in Vegas, you can't cover with paint because it will kill the grass. And grass is hard to grow in Vegas. Even though I have me and Rosie setting up an NXL PSP event got rained on setting up an event in Vegas. Rained on in Vegas. And remember the beautiful, bright, sunny Southern California. I never really saw that. I saw a lot of clouds. I saw a lot of rain. I did see a couple days of sunshine every once in a while. I went to SC Village one time and froze my ass off because I'm in LA and it's like 50 degrees out. I'm like, what is this? I, I've come from Florida.
Sounds
It's
like
supposed to
summer
be
to me.
70 to 80 degrees year round.
Rob Hansen from Chicago says, "Hey guys," and "Hey Rob, good to talk to you." And Cliff says, "Man, it wasn't too bad for us. Only thing I didn't like were the spiders." Valid,
Where
but I
at?
mean that goes with anywhere.
Spiders in Vegas?
I have no idea. People
Oh,
forget that there's a delay when they send a text. So if you're not specific, it loses a little bit of
yeah. Well,
context. But spiders are bad anywhere. When you're up here in Canada, yes, we have black widow spiders, but they barely can't bite you. And so there's nothing up here that really wants to kill you except polar bears, and that's about 2 days north. Everything else, actually, coyotes and anyway, as a general rule, compared to say Australia, nothing up here
that's
wants
what
to
I was
hurt
going to
you.
say. Yeah, no, no. Beautiful people in Australia, beautiful country. I'll never go there. Uh-uh. Nope, nope, nope. Too many things can stick you, stab you, and kill you there. Mm-mm.
Oh, I have to go. That's on my bucket list. I have to get down to Australia, and I
I
want
hope you
to.
do someday.
And
I missed my opportunity to go back in the early '90s. I could have
um,
gone with Team Rage, and I failed to meet the needs to do it. I was an idiot in those days. In the early '90s, I was having issues and failed to go to Australia, which would have been a great time. That would have been with Todd Adamson and a bunch of guys that he put together, invited down there, and they went and played a couple times down there. Awesome trip, from what I understand.
well, I
I
want to go
watched the
down.
score while they were away.
I want to go down, and I want to visit Connor. I'm not sure if you know Connor that well or not. He's more
Mm.
of an internet friend for most of us. He's in the wheelchair now. Um,
Ah,
Australian vet, had some issues, lost use of his legs, and he's fighting
oh,
his way
sorry to hear
back. But he's still out there. He'll still play in a wheelchair when he can. Have somebody else push him around, just hauling ass, and he coaches and he's
that. Oh, nice.
on boards for political things like to make paintball in Australia more accessible. And I don't mean that from a wheelchair point, but I mean just for an everybody point because of gun laws and stuff. So yeah.
Oh,
I
they've
have to
had a
go down and
real.
visit Connor. Have to.
Now, when they went down there in those early '90s to play paintball, they actually had to take the autocockers apart, take the cocking mechanism and everything on the front, and make them into pump guns, so that when they went through customs, they were just a pump single shot paint gun. And then once they got there, they reassembled the cockers so that they could have their autocockers to play with in the tournament.
There's a lot of new laws since then,
Oh,
and
I'm sure. I'm
you
sure.
you can't even bring parts now. Like it's
Oh, yeah. Gee, I wonder why. They only took videos and posted videos of this event. So here you have these American players playing with these semi-automatic weapons in this tournament when they were only supposed to be having pump guns. I wonder why they changed those laws.
I will argue to the day I die that autocockers are not semi-automatic. They are pneumatically assisted pumps. Thank you very much.
But you know what I mean.
I know exactly what
Uh,
you mean, and I maintain that an autococker is not semi-automatic. It is a pneumatically assisted pump because your finger is literally pumping the gun.
I wish I were intelligent enough to be able to bring forth a uh, product to the Olympic Committee and get paintball into the Olympics. That would
I
be something I would love to see in my lifetime, but
if you
I
can
don't have the brains to do that.
if you can do frisbee as a sport and
Break
break
dancing.
dancing as a
Yeah.
sport, then
Uh,
paintball can be a sport. It's
the
just
only problem is choosing the teams and then making a venue safe enough. And the one problem with paintball is
the
it's such
players.
well, no, it's messy. It
No,
is
it's the
a mess.
players.
It's a mess. We just we leave a I mean, God, we had the 2005. I was in Denver for the MPPL refing that event. We played just outside of Safeco Field on the parking lots, and they put indoor outdoor carpeting on. So we shot those, for 3 days. What do you figure? A couple million paintballs and all that paint. And then just as the event ended and they did started the award ceremony, this thunderstorm from hell rolled in, and it created this orange river that flowed from Safeco down into Denver. And I could just imagine what people thought as they saw the orange river go by.
It looks like wine.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I always see about paintball is if we are kind of a messy sport. We do leave a little bit of a trail behind us like a slug.
I disagree, and I think that the reason why paintball will never be an Olympic sport is because of the people that play it. It just when we were at Skydome, we were told whatever you do, don't shoot up, don't shoot the retracting dome. Will never be allowed to come back. And I'm talking
Oh,
about
they
the very first one. The very first thing that they did, and every paintball player came out was like, "Oh yeah, paintball." And God love it. I love it. I love like we are rebels, outlaws, and rogues. All of
well,
us.
that ceiling wouldn't get shot whether people pointed their gun up in the air. How that ceiling got shot the most is the kid running out to the snake, run, 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 jump, dive, and he hits the end of that gun. That gun goes off shooting straight up in the
No,
air.
I was
And
in the
there's other people just shooting up in the roof because they're got no brains. They don't remember that, hey, there's a roof. I'm not outside. I can't clear my gun straight up. That was another thing we had to. If you'll notice that when they start paintball today, you have to sweep from underneath and up. There's none coming up over the top anymore. They stopped doing that because we stopped players doing that is because as they come off the box, as they come up, they would literally start firing their gun and they'd shoot a rainbow of paint. The shit's ending up in the parking lot and over in left field, the houses over there. If we were playing near houses, there was a lot of collateral damage. That's like I was looking at the field that they did there in Thailand, was it there last month or so, right there on the beach?
yep.
And I was talking to Brandon about it, and he said that they were running the bunkers kind of soft and they had an extra high netting. It wasn't your 20-footer, it was more like 30, 35, 40 feet of netting that they put up to try and keep the paint inside the box. And that's another thing is that, even at your local fields, if they let those bunkers get really hard, in the sun, and they're rock hard, that paint just ricochets off there, and there's no net in the world that's stopping that. You can't get
No,
one that's tall enough.
no, but they was. I'm talking about people were intentionally trying to shoot it in the players areas.
There's always going to be those guys in that thing. See, now the thing is about
Absolutely, and that's my point.
if you do an Olympic type event, those players are invite only. It's not going to be your normal tournament. It's going to be a tournament against nations. And it's just going to be those teams. That's it. There's not going to be any D2, D1, D nothing. No, it's just those groups of individuals. You'll have 32 teams, 32 or 48 teams that will play over a series of days to do it. And when you start talking about professionals like that, when you're talking Skydome guys, that's a bunch of amateurs and stuff, and the clueless wonders are always inside that. When you're talking in your professional ranks and those guys, now like we played a event, the Smart Parts one in 2006. We played in there's a place called Mohegan Sun Casino, and underneath that casino is a basketball stadium. The Mohegan Sun women's team play there. and we covered the floor, put a net around it, and played underneath there for a couple of days. Now we ended up after that event having to clean up in the stands and everything from paint that bounced out or snake player running in and he hits the ground and that gun goes off and that gun's at a 45-degree angle. It's going out. And sadly to say that they had those big old jumbotrons, lower right corner of one on one side of it caught a couple of paintballs. Not that they were aiming to do it, not that they were trying to do it. It's just the collateral damage that happens in a paintball venue unless you put a complete net over the whole top. And in a controlled environment like that, it's cool enough down there to where players aren't dying of heat. You do that outdoors and you put that netting all the way over the top, you create a nice little heat dome, and you're going to fry those guys like bacon. You know what's funny? When I used to ref and it was like 1,000 degrees out there, everybody's sweating their ass off, and I turn around, I look, and I see all those people in those aluminum bleachers. I would start laughing and pointing at them, going, "Look, bacon on the grill."
Well, we got a message from Cliff saying we removed a whole team because they were trying to shoot the dome. So he's talking about Skyball.
Yep,
And Robert
that
Hansen
would have been.
says, I look like I'm sipping on moonshine, and I am not. I am sipping out of a mason jar, but it is ginger ale, sadly.
Frank's old trick. I know, Dean's old trick. Dean Martin.
Okay.
You all thought he was a drunk. Oh, he drank off screen and stuff, but every time he was drinking on Carson, he was just acting. That was apple juice he was freaking drinking.
Probably.
Yeah, he did not, and that's why his timing was still so good. Because he wasn't drunk. It was just like Foster Brooks doing his old drunk routine on the Dean Martin roasts. Those were epic. If you've never seen a Dean
Oh,
Martin
I love
roast,
those.
go to YouTube, load it up. They're from the 70s, and it's good stuff.
So I saw that you've got a second marker from Eclipse.
Oh, my
You
gun
you got
sponsor. Oh,
you got
baby.
to take a chance to plug Eclipse because they are super people.
Oh,
I
they are.
love Leds so much. So
They're unbelievable. Jack, Leds, Jacko. Those guys have taken such good care of me since I've started playing again. They on arriving tomorrow is their G-Tech 180R.
yep,
And now the gun weighs 2 pounds, and the box, you figure that thing weighs maybe 3, 4 pounds, right? The box is 7 pounds. It's arriving at my house. I'm wondering if they sent me the gun in a brick.
they probably sent you a mechanical frame.
I don't know. It's going to be a big surprise. I'm waiting to see what they send me tomorrow. I'll be posting up what they sent and stuff, even if
Nice.
it's just the gun and that case is that heavy. I just can't imagine that gun and case weighs 7 pounds. So that's been a big mystery to me that I've been bandying about in my teeny little brain all day and watching. I keep going to the website and clicking on the FedEx link, watching it go from Rhode Island to Memphis. And now it's on its way from Memphis to somewhere in Florida to where then it'll be delivered tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean the EMEC that they gave me an EMEC in
Yes.
World Cup, not the last one, but the one before that
I
that
love
I've
those
been
guns
using.
so much.
Oh my God, that thing is so nice to use. Oh,
Right?
well, and you saw the pictures of me, and I put a 13 CI tank on it with
Yeah.
that big bulbous. People look at that thing because it looks so weird, and I love it. It's perfect for just playing rec games. I mean, it only shoots 170 rounds, so it means I can't go out there and just go and just shoot a ton of paint at people. I have to pick my shots and take my time and work the game, which is a lot more fun than just going down there and but then I've got this new gun that's coming, and yeah, that's going to have a little bit.
So
But I'll go run out and do some sup air stuff with that.
So Rob Hansen said marker, mech frame, and barrel inserts, and a hard case. And he said that's probably why the weight comes up. I'm willing to bet there's T-shirts and other swag thrown
I
in
don't
as
know.
well.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping for a brick signed by Ed Jacko. That would be great. I always love good gag stuff. That makes my day sometimes. But
I loved the 170 when it came out, um, as an electro. Um, and I was really thinking about getting one. Like I was seriously considering it. It was between
I've been
that and the
watching
shocker.
I've been watching videos on these guns and stuff. I didn't know much about them because I'm learning on the fly. I
They're
mean,
amazing.
for crying out loud, I in World Cup in Tampa, I was using a Vice. That's a
Nothing wrong with
Gen
that.
5 Timmy.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, it's it's tired now.
yeah.
It's seen better days. It still works really good, but its efficiency and stuff's fallen off a little bit, and you can't really find parts and stuff. I did find out there are some people you could send it to, you go through it. I'm like, you know, I might try and I messaged Jacko. I said, hey, Vice has run its course.
Yep.
I need something. See what you got. If you got anything laying around, that would work. And he had mentioned at the beginning in ETHA 3. I'm like, I looked at it. I'm like, hey, that'll work. All I need to do is spit 10.5 balls a second out. That's it. That's all I
Right.
need.
Yep.
And he messaged me back. No, I got this 180R. What do you think about that? And I'm like, okay. I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, if he suggested it to me, I'm like, perfect. I'm game. I mean, I got paid to play with a VM68 against automags and autocockers.
Yep.
Okay. And I went out and made it work because they gave me this gun, and I will use like I tell kids at I see, walk on players, and they see the guys out there with their machine guns going, brrr, and I look at the kid and I go, don't worry about it. It only takes one ball, dude. You hit him with one ball, he's gone. That's all you got
And
to do.
that's why you have an award named after you. Just so you know.
No.
Because since there was question in the prize, that is why you are you, man. That is why you have an
Oh,
award named after
some of
you.
these walk-on games are really funny because you start the game off and I'll literally run, little kid over here, little girl over here, little kid over here. Okay, here, they're coming here, they're gonna do this. Let me go over here and take care of him and set him up and then let him go and let him have fun. Try and give him an idea what to do. But then again, then I do mess with their minds a little bit. Like when we're walking out to the woods ball field, I go, welcome to my playground. I built the field for I've been working out in these woods for the last 20 years. This is my little playground. Welcome to it. Have fun.
Getting back to the 180 for a quick second.
Yeah.
The reason why I didn't get the 170, well, there's two reasons actually. I was really, really looking at it. I was really excited because I loved how it felt in the electro format. But when you went to the mechanical format, they had in order to keep the grip feeling the same and using they had this nubby that goes between your trigger finger, like where the trigger guard normally would be, because the mechanical has to be a single finger trigger. There's this nubby that sticks out on the mechanical, and I would grab a hold of that, and I do not like finger grooves on my grips at all. And I was just
Uh,
like, I love this gun. I love everything about this gun, but I can't switch it to a mechanical because that grip drives me
I
nuts.
don't. I don't think he's going to send me a mechanical frame. There's no need. I have an EMAC. Why would I need a Why would I need a mechanical frame? I don't need one.
Because pimping ain't easy, yo.
No, dude. You throw the EMAC out on the mechanical, works just fine. And then when I need the electro, it's going to be the 180.
You
I am not going to mess around having to change trigger groupings just for mechanical. No, I keep the gun together. I don't mess with it. The only thing I'm going to do to that thing when it comes to my door is get the programming to its NXL 10.2, and that's it. That's the way it's going to stay for the rest of its life. That's
I
all I need.
I get that. I'm just saying that was my beef because I wanted to be able to switch from one to the other, cuz if I'm flying wherever or doing whatever, like I, I like the idea of just having one gun and then a frame, you know what I mean? Like that makes sense to me.
I see. The other thing is I'm not flying anywhere. No, no. If it ain't within a 2-hour drive, it ain't worth going to.
So what you're saying is I'm not good enough to come visit?
Oh, you can come visit anytime you want, but
No,
I'm
you
not
visit
flying up
me.
there.
Come on up
Fuck
here where
that.
it's cool. There's no spiders.
No.
There's no things that's
Yeah,
gonna
bullshit.
bite you.
No,
Hey,
the temperature don't stay above 80 degrees up there, bud. Sorry, ain't
it,
happening.
it does in the summertime. Wasaga Beach is one of the greatest fields you will ever go to in your
You
entire
wanna know what's
life.
you know what's funny? I have a buddy of mine who lives about 3 hours north of Wasaga Beach.
Why in God's name would anybody
There was
live north of Wasaga Beach?
I have no idea. He's way up
That's
there in the sticks. He's
yes,
way
he
up there.
is.
And I sent him the picture because Wasaga Beach posted some pictures just during the last month or so of them playing there in the snow.
Yep.
And I sent him those pictures of going, yeah, see, that's just 3 hours down south. Go down and have a good time, bud.
Snow
Why
snakes and
not?
ice balls.
But
Canadian paintball in the wintertime.
now see, the vise isn't the only thing that got replaced. I had to replace the rotor that I got out of my buddy's trunk in 2008.
The die rotor, like the hopper.
Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
very first die rotor, thing weighs like 4 pounds or something. And
Yeah, I
I
got one.
kind of got tired, finally at this event, I'm like, if the gun's going, so's the loader. So a buddy of mine needed a backup loader, so I sent that loader off to him. And HK has a little, I forget what they called it, but it was a nice little loader. It's going to get my 10.5 for me. And match. Now I have I have a couple sponsors. HK, they do my tanks and my loaders, and Eclipse provides me with the gun,
Nice.
which is a really nice setup. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, everybody seems to really take care of me when I'm at those events. I mean, I was up there in Tampa, and Frank Connell and his
I love that guy.
donuts, the donuts that he has. What's the name of that?
Dilly or dilly
Dilly
dilly?
Donuts.
Is it dilly
Dilly
donuts or
Dilly
dilly dilly?
Dilly
Yeah,
Donuts, I
yeah.
think it is. I can't eat donuts. My body won't tolerate them. But he was kind enough to feed me Gatorades all weekend to keep me going. Kept an eye on me. It's really nice. Everybody kind of takes care of me up there. Tom Cole always,
Yeah.
gets me to be able to get around and talk to everybody. I'm able to move through the event without any trouble, and it's just really nice. It's
Have you
just like coming home to all those events.
have you tried the Virtue Spire loaders at all?
No, I never have. I've seen them. I don't know much about them. The reason that I went with the HK stuff is because I've known those guys for years. They're really
Yep.
good friends of mine, and they've been sponsoring my team, the Annihilators, a
Nice.
team that I helped form in the '86, and a guy by the name of Chris Oliver has been keeping them going for the last 15 years or so,
Right.
and that's been one of their sponsors. And he, says, "Hey, go over there. They got this good little loader. It's real reasonable price." I'm like, "Okay, great." And I went and I took a look, and bang, boom. I was like, "Oh yeah, this thing's nice, light, one little 9-volt battery. Boom, I'm in." And I think he said something about it was like, what was the loader that had the big long nose on it?
The,
Pinocchio.
the
The
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. He
Josh
said it was.
Silverman had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, he said it was something similar to that. They had a different one besides the big Pinocchio. It was the smaller one, and it was like a redesigned version of that. I guess he said it was. I think that's what he was talking about. I don't know. Goes in one ear, one out the other. All I know is I was looking at a nice new lightweight loader that, I didn't have to try and figure out which of the three batteries was not performing properly. And,
Right.
it's just one 9-volt. That's an easy test. Just shove it on your tongue. And you want to know what? I can tell you how strong a 9-volt is with my tongue. Not a problem. I've been doing that for so long. It's just like, yeah, that one's good. Oh, that one will get me through a couple of games. Oh, this one's
Yeah.
dead.
I stopped doing that long ago, and I just sort of like, you know what? I'd rather
You
just
need a little jolt of voltage there. Get
no,
your
I
day going.
really don't.
Oh,
No,
yes, you
no, I just go, you know
add a
what?
spark to your day.
No, I used to just buy brand new batteries for the day, and I just pop everything in if it's a
Oh,
tournament.
I'm a
And
cheap bastard. I squeak.
well,
And
Like if I'm
I I'm
practicing
gonna
or
make sure I
playing,
get every ounce out of that little 9 volt I can, believe me.
if I'm
And my
practicing,
tongue hasn't let me down yet.
if I'm practicing, or if it's just a rec day or whatnot, I'll throw in whatever. But if it's anything even remotely important, it's just
Oh,
all
yeah, it's a brand new one for
fresh
the night before.
Duracells.
That's one of my things is like the tournament and stuff. The night before, it's always it's been a routine for years. Make sure everything's clean, new batteries,
Yep,
be ready to rip.
yep,
And,
and
yeah, and like you, I only buy Duracells, and my wife, she
it,
loves a bargain, and I cannot use a bargain battery. It just
no, no,
drives me.
it for whatever reason, Duracells just work better. I there is no
It's
rhyme or
all up
reason.
here. That's where
No,
that's where they work better is right here.
no,
Yes, they do. It for
I've
us, it's right here. Believe me, batteries are batteries, but right here, Duracell's the best. It's
I
all there is to it, and it's all I'm ever gonna use.
I I I understand that that's the logic, but every time I have ever tried to use an Energizer Max, or whatever the case may be that the field had, because something happened, because something always happens. Every time I put it into an electric marker or whatever, it either died quick or didn't work right. And the minute it got Duracells, it was fine again. And it's just like, that's it.
I went into the pits, walking through Tampa in the pits, and I was in the aftershock area there before we played them. And I go, "All right, guys, who needs a quarter for their loader?" Nobody wanted to have a quarter for their loader. And then we started getting into, well, dimes are better. And we started having this big conversation of what we should throw on each other's loaders to make them stop working. And then we
Uh,
went out and beat them. We actually beat Aftershock. They still made it to the podium. I think they finished second or something as their usual Aftershock thing. But we got to beat them. And I immediately after we beat them, I went into their pits and said, "You guys got beat by a bunch of unts." I won't say the first letter there. I trying to keep it PG, but our name could properly be spelled if we were in the UK.
yes.
It would be okay there.
And
Here we have to change it, but
it would be the
there,
norm if it was in Australia.
yeah, yeah. There's two places in the world we could really spell our name correctly, but here we have to go under camouflage. And I will say that Camille Mansky, when I told her at Cup that I was playing for them, she says, "I laugh every time I have to write their name down." And the poor young lady or young man who has to yell for the teams at the 10 man, because they usually use a little bullhorn to say who's up, who's on deck, and who's in the hole, sometimes get it backwards. And we all just start giggling. It's the funniest thing. And then they get all flustered and stuff from what they've just said.
What's the dumbest paintball name you've ever heard?
Dumbest. There are no dumb names.
Oh,
There are a
yes,
lot of
there
great
are.
There's a lot of great names out there. One of my current favorites is Shut Up We're Trying. Oh my God, is that a great team name?
See, and that's
I've been following those guys for, I think they've been around for a few years now, because the first time I saw that name, I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. And they've actually moved up the brackets. I don't know what divisions they're playing, their first team's playing in now, but they are progressing. But that team name is just awesome.
well, the dumbest one I've ever heard was a bunch of small furry animals locked in a cage grooving with a pike. That was the whole team name.
Well, there were, I remember Exploding White Mice. That
Sure.
was a team name. Um, Gosh, there's been so many different little odds and quirky names over the years. Trying to think of some of them, I'm having a little hard time with it. But the mice, were some of them. There's just, I mean, there's no dumb names.
I
They're just
totally disagree.
no,
I
no, no, because they've always got something. There's always something behind them. I
No,
mean, hell, I had a
there's
team.
not. And
I
you
had a
know
team.
it. Don't
I had a
give me
team
that
called no.
crap.
I had a team called No Practice, for God's sakes.
Right. But you and I both know that there's a whole bunch of team out there that they're like, all right, let's get to tournament together. Let's go. And they get to the field and it's just like throw to the team. It's like, what do we call ourselves? I don't know. That's the stupidest thing we can think of. and
Yep,
away
and
they
those
go.
turn out to be the best, and
No, they
sometimes they
are
wouldn't.
not.
Oh, yeah, no,
Have you ever seen The Dirt
I'm
on
complete.
Netflix? Bill,
The what? Who?
the guy, it's all about it's the Motley Crue documentary movie on
Oh.
Netflix. Mick Mars, he's like 9 times out of 10. Shitty name, shitty band. That's the way I feel about paintball too. Because like you're like,
Oh,
oh
no.
yeah, there's
No,
some you
man, there's
cannot take seriously at all.
oh, what the hell did we call ourselves? Mickey's Rats.
See, that's
In
fine. It's just
Well, we're
there's
playing in Orlando at the World Cup.
yeah,
The Mickey's Rats were playing, I don't know, where you think we're playing D3, D4. We were down in the divisions. That team was made up of Jacksonville Warriors.
right.
But we didn't feel like playing under the Warriors label. They were playing in another division somewhere. And for some reason, Paul decided to call us Mickey's Rats. And a buddy of mine, Johan from, God, he's going to kill me if I get this wrong. I think it's Holland he is from.
Yeah, yeah.
A
I know y'all.
wonderful, Johan. He is what, 6'6".
Yeah,
He is a giant of a man.
yeah.
Well,
He
anyways,
he used to play for the Preds.
he plays for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
He
He's
gets
awesome.
around. But anyways, in this event, he figured out who Mickey's Rats were, and he has been bitching at me still to this day about that. But in one of the games that we played, they had this center prop that was two big props. They were about 7, 8 feet tall, and in between the props was this clear plastic, so you could see through it. You could not shoot through it. You could not push through it. You could not punch the guy on the other side of the thing. They were watching for that kind of stuff. You couldn't lift it up and shoot underneath it or anything like that. You could just look at the guy and yell at him. And we spent that game yelling at one another. He's the only man that I know that, well, I'm sure some other tall individuals do it, but I was playing with him on the Fluffy Bunnies, and he was trying to shoot the back center guy, and he was at this can. He went out to the right, went out to the left, and then he jumped up and shot him over the top of the can. I'm like, ah, you are very tall, sir, and athletic. And I'm glad he's my friend because he's a great individual.
He really is. I don't know him that well. If I'm pretty sure that Marcus gave him his original Predators push mask.
Oh,
And it was Johan that gave it to me at World Cup
oh,
because Marcus
nice,
couldn't make
nice.
the. He was playing with somebody else. I want to say he was playing with one of the Destiny teams. I
He's actually played.
think.
He played with the Annihilators. He's officially been on the Annihilators for a World Cup. Played 10. I think it was 10 men. He played with them. That was one of the ones that was held out there at Fantasy of Flight. I think it was.
Oh, we got Robert Hansen said I cleaned out my truck and found over 60 brand new batteries. That's valid. Robert Hansen says Chicks Dig Scars was a good name and runs with scissors. And Cliff Myers says we play backwards. Rats Plus. I'm not sure what the Rats Plus part is, but we play backwards. Actually, that's kind of funny.
Solid names, all of them. Solid names. I've never heard a bad paintball name. Never.
You're a nicer guy than I am, Boogie.
Yeah,
You're a
dude.
nicer guy than me.
Oh man, like God, what was the? Yeah, there was some team names that we played under that were just ridiculous. Just anything to put it up there.
Yeah.
You know.
How much can we mess with the organizers?
Well, Cunning Stunts is fantastic. That is one of the better names. It will make people trip over themselves sometimes if they say it backwards. Probably get in a lot of trouble. But we don't care. That's why we did it. Well, why they did it.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be saying, hey, that's my team.
Yeah, but and when you say you don't play very well, you're practicing almost weekly, right? Like you'll go out and
I run drills. The
that's what I
problem
mean.
is, and when I say I run drills, it's mainly snap shooting and then just coming off the box and shooting a lane off the break.
Right.
I can't do the running and gunning. I was diagnosed just 2 days ago with emphysema.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, if you smoke, stop. Don't do it. If you're smoking anything, stop. You,
Yeah.
you don't need to. Or if you have to, moderation.
Yes.
Moderate as much as you can, because if you go overboard, you end up, breathing becomes an issue, and you kind of need that.
Yeah. But
But hey, my method is burn your hand to find out what's going on. Woohoo!
so with going into this season, I mean, normally you stay pretty close to home for various
Yeah,
reasons.
I'm fairly lucky, that Florida, we can play year round here.
Yes.
We have some good series, the MVPS series. We have some really good parks. My home park, Extreme Rage, is a good one. You go up a little further, you go to Tiki's or Legacy Paintball. There's Battlefield Orlando. Hudson's got it used to be Gator Paintball, but it's now part of OPX. Is it OPX? They're a big organization because Battlefield Orlando and Hudson are now they're owned by the same parent company, I believe.
Right.
Which is and the parent companies from Maryland or up there along the East Coast somewhere, OCX or something. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know all the political ins and outs anymore. I don't really pay attention much, but you know. And the thing is the cunning stunts guy. They want to get me to be playing more, actually playing instead of doing all this drilling. And I was lucky enough. I ran into an old friend of mine, Krill, from the Russian Legion. And when he
Nice.
found out I'm starting to play a little more, their home field here in the States is Tiki's.
Okay.
And he wants me to come up and hang out with the boys again. I used to, back in the day when I used to play a lot, and they were coming over here. Generally, it was during World Cup time, before the World Cup, usually 2 weeks before pro teams would start showing up. And I used to weasel my way in onto rosters. Well, I used to, anytime the Russians showed up at CFP, which is now Legacy Paintball, I used to weasel my way into their practices. It drove their coaches crazy, but the players loved it because, when I met them for the first time, I was a referee in Europe. They met me and we talked, and we bonded a little bit, and we got to be friends. And then when they came over to the US, I basically gave them a pep talk before they came to the US, telling them, what was going to happen, about, they're not going to be like, people are going to be hating on them. Referees going to be hating on them. Shit's going to go south on them, stuff out of their control. And told them basically, look, you put that all aside. You play the point, you win the point, fine. If you lose the point and something crazy goes on, forget the point, move on, get to the next one, focus on the point that you're playing and take each point individually. And they took it to heart. And I heard Fedorov this weekend. He's now playing with the Tauntauns, and they had a pretty rough outing. And I was walking by, and he was giving him that focus speech on how to drop it, move on, focus on each individual point as you play it just to win the point. And everything that's shitty that goes on, you discuss that at night. You wait till you're out away from the field and you discuss it then. Or, when it's done, you don't carry baggage into the next point.
And circling back, this is why you have an award named after you, dumbass. I don't know
Yeah.
why I have an award named
Well,
after me.
Curl wants me to
Freaking
come
Red
up and
Legions and the Tauntauns are using your motivational speech. Like,
well,
buy a clue.
Costa was using it. Yes, he was. He's Konstantin Fedorov is a very good friend of mine. And it's really neat to see how he grew up. Another one that I saw in Tampa was the guy they call Malloy,
Okay.
Alexander. I can't say his last name, but I met him and his name to me that I still call him to this day is Sasha.
Right.
Is what the Russian guys called him. And when I first met him, he was like 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. He's really young. He was in England, and I was talking to the boys as usual, and Krill was interpreting for me. And the little shit goes, He says something to Krill. Krill starts laughing. I go, what? He goes, well, he says you sound like a pirate. And I was talking, and I actually, for this weekend in Tampa, I actually had a conversation with him because now he speaks English. He's a lot smarter than I am. I speak 2 languages. I speak American and bad American. That's it. That's my 2 languages. But
And you call it, it's bad American because you don't know the proper word is vulgar.
eh, bad American.
You can flip me off. That's allowed, just so you know.
And you notice that I call it American because it's not English.
No, it's not.
It's a dialect of English, but it's not English. Now, Ant, he speaks English. And depending on what part of that country you come from, you can't understand what the English is. Because
You're
like
not wrong.
I'm a huge Newcastle United fan, and Geordies speak a language all unto their own.
Yes, they do.
Well, it's English, but it's a dialect.
Yeah.
And then there's other parts of the country that they speak. I've heard it. I guess they call it Brummie, and
Okay.
I've heard some of that. And no, I didn't understand a word that the man said.
Have you ever watched any of the? Oh, I can't remember what the name of the video, the YouTube channel is from Newfoundland. The Newfoundland dialect is. I don't even know how that's a language. Like,
I don't think I know. I've never met anybody from that part of the world.
you'd never forget. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'd be more than interested to hear from somebody. That'd be good.
I'll have to track down that YouTube channel. I'll send you the link in private after the show sometime. But it's something else. I mean, God bless them. I'm not putting them down for it. That's their own. It's their style, and more power to them. Like, this is not a negative connotation in any way, shape, or form. I just don't understand what they're saying, and we're speaking the same language.
Yep. Oh man.
So,
But yeah, and this season's going to be fun. I hope to, like I say, start going and maybe doing a little bit of playing away from home. I play mainly at Extreme Rage because it's convenient. It's 20 minutes from my house. They take real good care of me. I groom their woods, groom their woods fields. Oh, and by the way, this Saturday, because I have to, try and do a little something.
plug
I'm going
away,
to
man.
volunteer field reffing for them this weekend.
Nice.
So I'll be wearing a referee jersey, refereeing first time walk-on players for the first time since the mid '90s.
Stroll out with a super soaker and just watch them go.
No, I'm going to be standing under my umbrella, giggling, trying to stay out of the way and make sure that they have a good time.
That, or just take a stool and be the guy's like, "Yep, I'm filling the air tanks. Thank you very much."
Well, I tried to let them tried to talk the NXL into letting me put a lazy boy at home so I could play from a big chair, but they turned me down. So
Just
sad.
inconsiderate. They don't care about your needs.
Well, we were also thinking about chair 5-man, and
Right.
what chair 5-man is that you can't shoot your gun until your chair is set up and you're sitting in it. So the run out to the corners should be interesting. I hope nobody kills themselves tripping over their chair and trying to get it set up and stuff. But yeah, we were coming up with all sorts of crazy, stupid stuff.
You know what you should do, or we should do, is we should get you talking with Andy Starrett of the Ali Remembered Foundation and see if we can get you up to Denver for the charity game. Because
That's
Fred
far
Schultz,
too out of my range.
well, it is and it's not, because they'd fly you out in theory. Andy, don't shoot me. This is just a concept.
Andy,
you don't actually
shots
have
can
to
be
do
fired. Don't worry, buddy. I met Andy actually through Fred on Fred's show. I think the last time I was on, he was there, or was it the time before? But I did meet him through Fred. Fred introduced us.
Well, all I'm saying is, I bet you'd get. We could probably try to weasel, pun intended, Dave Cook out. We could probably Fred Schultz likes to get down there. You probably haven't met Mike O'Lear, and if you have, it was a very, very long time ago. But he used to run with Chris Lasoya and talk about big men. Big Mike is massive.
I may have met him years ago. I saw Chris up in Tampa.
But
It was good to see him again. Do you know where he originally started playing, correct?
you know what? At some point, I'm sure I did, but he's moved around so much. I know he lived in the
Well,
Denver area. I know he's
that's where he's most
California.
famous for. That's what he's most famous for. But you know where he started playing his paintball, where he first started his whole adventure?
No,
Orlando, Florida.
I
He was
that
part
that
of a team called the Doom Troopers.
sure, but I
He
thought he
was like,
started.
I think 12 or 13
Yeah,
years old. He was so young, but
but
he was a
my
good
point
player.
is, I'm willing to bet that between Andy and Mike and Wheeze and possibly Fred if he comes out and whoever else comes out to the charity game, they actually might make the not wheelchair, the lawn chair 5-man an exhibition, and they may actually make that happen
I
for you.
don't think you could do it because somebody would kill themselves tripping over that damn chair. You
No,
know it as sure as the sun comes up in the morning,
they
somebody's going
would
to eat
they
it
would
with that
they would
chair.
they would stack it with old timers, and it would just be it
Oh
would
no, that would be even worse. No, then you have broken limbs on top of it from them brittle old people. No.
you just take your time. Like it's
Oh,
not like
yeah.
they're going to be moving
Uh-huh.
faster than you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Everybody's moving the same
As
speed,
soon as
slow.
that adrenaline hits, all the turtles are gonna think they're 19 again, and there's just gonna be the tearing of muscles and the breaking of bones everywhere. No, it'd probably be a bad idea.
Hanson just said he'd play lawn chair games, and
But
if you get
see,
hit,
and stuff like charity games and stuff like that, that's where you break out. Like me and a buddy of mine for rec playing here the last few months, we've been messing around with CO2 cartridges again.
12-gram.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh God. It's the most fun thing in the world to run into a bunker with person, take a few shots, start running low on CO2, and then pull that lever and pop that CO2 and watch them crap their pants.
I know
But
that
yeah,
I know Trevor Van Dorser keeps asking me to come out when they do 12-gram days, but I don't have a lever release for any of my 12 grams. They're all the screw in kind.
well, Boston, he's a big Phantom guy, and all his guns are well, his latest one is the turn and a half twist on for the CO2, which is they're perfectly fine. And he's got like 6 Phantoms all rigged up for different variations of stock play, open play, and it's he's got a beautiful harness though that I wished I'd have had when we played tube paintball. It's got 22s wrapped around the back like a regular harness with a 2 side pieces for that have the holders for the CO2s. I think it's 5 on each side for a
Is it the
total of
old
10.
is it the old Edema?
No, it's a custom built one that he had made. He
Nice.
actually got a guy put this thing together, and it looks fantastic. We'd have sold thousands of them in back in the 80s if we'd have thought of something like that. Instead, we had just the little JT over the shoulder strap thing with I think it was like 20 tubes around the side and 10 tubes down, 10 CO2s down each side. It was hilarious.
Cliff just said, "Well, good night." Also, good night, Cliff. Good chatting with you.
Good
Like
night.
in theory. And Robert Hanson asked, "When's the charity event?" I'll try to get out there. Robert, I know there's a couple dates. I don't know if it's 100% locked down or not. I'll make sure that I let you know when I know for sure. But there's been a lot of stuff going through the board chats, so I'm not 100% sure on the date off the top of my head. I don't have the access, and I'm not going to that's all, folks. I'm not going to access it while I'm talking to Boogie. So, I always what I did because I started in '89, right? And I was one of the first. I was one of the first players in my area to have a quick change. It was the Brass Eagle Nightmare Competition short barrel. So you'd
Hmm.
had the spin on the back, and you could take the seals off the top. And I would always just go crack it just a little bit, so it would go, tss, and I'd lock it back up again. And people were like, "Oh, he's changing, charge him!" Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, see, I use for my CO2s, I use a micro CA2. Now,
Nice.
it was the first product I ever bought from Airgun Designs back in, oh God, it was '89, I think. And that thing still works. I mean, it's never been, it's still, it's all original equipment on it. It has nothing new or different on it. It's still original and it all still works.
Except for the
It was
O-rings, I
amazing.
would assume.
No, everything still works.
Ha!
It doesn't. I only thing that I did is I put a couple of drops of oil on the cup seal where it seats on the CO2. That's all I did. And I popped a new CO2 in there, and I hadn't used that thing in 25 years, and it boom worked. The thing about that is when you pull that lever and that CO2 pops out, I still got 3 shots left.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah,
That.
there's a check valve in that thing.
Yeah. Oh, those are amazing.
It,
I'm.
it's I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Immortal Air America, whichever. They don't make bad stuff. Like, I mean, there was a section where there was some regs that were, yeah, but I love
Nah,
their stuff. I
I've
love it.
never ever had anything from Mr. Colby that I just didn't love and enjoy. Like my last cocker that I had built, uh, one of the parts that I have on it is a Air America stainless steel reg because I was making a period correct autococker. I didn't want any one of the new torpedo little lightweight jobbies. No, got to go with the original, rock solid.
Now, are you talking the Unireg or the one that was before that?
The unit, it was well, it wasn't. The Unireg was the big fat round one, and I
No,
found out from Dan that the different various names of the regs that they made were only differentiated by the cut and quality of the steel. That was
right.
it. Everything else was the same. It was just how they were cut and what kind of materials that they used was what name that was on that particular run.
Well,
And I thought that was quite interesting.
that is the I want to say the Avalanche. The name's escaping me though, and this is the Unireg Black Ice.
Yeah, yeah. Now see, that's Unireg. The other one looks more like a one of
Apocalypse, I
Bobby's
think.
rigs.
No, not
Yeah.
Apocalypse. See,
Oh,
I keep wanting to call tank regs, and it was the bigger one that had when low pressure was starting to become a thing. That
the
was the
big,
one that you could modify to go low
the
pressure.
biggest, the biggest reg of them all were those nitro ducks.
Oh
Remember the
God,
old nitro
I
ducks?
hate.
Holy cow, those things were huge.
I hate nitro duck. There's nothing. There's no nitro duck anything in my
The
apartment
best,
anymore.
the best nitro duck kind of product there
Was
was
no
the
good nitro
cattle.
duck.
No, 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 the cattle flage. Do you know what cattle flage is?
Yep, don't care. You you
Yeah,
you have no
it was the
idea how.
it was the camouflage. It was made out of little cows. It
Yep.
was the best shit ever.
Yeah, but that was a copy of the Eagle Flage that came out with Brass Eagle when they brought out the Golden Eagle.
Did they? I didn't
Yeah,
know that they made an eagle flage,
there was an
but
Eagle Flage.
I remember the cattle flage, and that just always tickled my fancy.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. No, I got a night. It was very hard to get paintball gear up here that was current because most stuff up here in Canada was 2 years behind the American stuff as a general rule. So when
Well, it
high
wasn't like you were gonna go online and look for it,
I know we had to like somebody had to go
dude.
down and
That
bring it
was
back or I had to
yeah.
order it through somebody.
I mean, it was crazy back in the '80s. It was just like when we first started going to tournaments. That was the coolest thing in the late '80s because then you were seeing the or like in the mid '80s when you first started going to tournaments. Then you were leaving your little niche and going and seeing what the other guys were doing and what their mods were. That's where people were starting to oil can loaders
Yep.
instead of just stick tube feeds. And then you had your 10 round tubes, and then you went to oil can loaders, and then your first pods were crystal light containers were usually very popular. And then as it the game back then was pretty cool because you were looking around the house for shit you could repurpose into modifying your paintball gun. So everybody's gun was a little different. Now you go to a tournament, everybody's stuff is the same.
Well,
There's no, I mean, they're beautiful, beautiful cuts. There can be different color combinations and stuff like that. But the gist of it is it's all the same, and I like it. There's nothing wrong with it. It was
I
just,
miss the old. I miss the
the
old
old
days when
days
we.
was a little more pioneering because a gun wasn't complete until it had a little duct tape on it somewhere or a little black electrical tape, a little tape or something. And for years and years, I used to just take and put a rapid electrical tape somewhere on a gun.
Just
It
cause.
wasn't doing anything. It was just there because that was made the paintball gun complete was that little piece of tape. And they still do it today. You see the pro DNA tape wrapped around the grips and stuff, and you know, to give them better grip and stuff. I guess I don't know, but
It is for grip. It's
is
a
that what it is
shooting.
for?
It's a shooting thing. Um, I don't know. I don't buy into it. I don't.
Hey,
When I'm holding on.
whatever.
Yeah, when I'm holding on to a paintball gun, as a general rule, I'm holding it with my left hand and it's secure, and I'm doing this. So it's
Yeah.
not like I got
Well,
a good grip on.
see, the thing is that you know, I'm assuming you're saying it's secure up against this portion of your chest, correct?
To a degree.
Now, if you're gonna run and gun, it goes
I'm
on
too
your
old to
arm.
run and gun.
You still gotta still have the base. And see, that's why I do so much drilling.
Yeah.
Is that I keep my basic. It's just like any sport. If you play basketball, you're going to work on your free throws, your jump shot, your 3-point shooting, and these are your basis that you build upon. And the thing is keeping those in tune keeps me still be able to play. Yeah, I can't move around, but at least I can hit what I'm aiming at.
Yep.
And
Well,
that's why I can't wait to see this new 180R. Oh,
I'm
I haven't had a spool valve gun since my Mark 6 in 2008 was the last time I shot a spool gun.
they've changed. They've changed a lot.
From what I have seen on the videos and
And
stuff and
wait
the
a minute,
sound signature and
you
stuff,
have an
oof,
EMAC.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
spool.
Is it a spool?
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, so I've had one for a couple years and didn't know it.
Anyway, dude. Well, we've been at it for an hour and a half.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Time
yeah.
flies when you're having fun.
I've been looking to this forward to this for 2 weeks. I've been to sitting down with you again. So we got to do it again sometime in the near
Oh,
future.
sure, sure. I have still lots of more stuff we can
Oh,
talk about. Believe me, my stories are endless.
we really should try to get Rosie and Kevin, everybody together if we
Well,
can.
may the force be with you, young Skywalker. I would be more than happy to talk to those gentlemen at any time because
Right?
they are some great people.
So any parting things you got to say to anybody? Any sponsors you want to plug? Any players you want to say look out for? Anything like that?
I think we've covered all of it. I don't think I've missed anything. I mean, I got my team of the Cunning Stunts and their captain Gordon,
Nice.
and then I got my gun sponsor of Planet Eclipse, Jacko and Jack and Leds, love those guys.
Yep.
And then there's Mark and the boys over at HK who hooked me up with my tanks and my loaders. And
I'm looking forward to seeing a picture of what loader you get. I'm curious. I got to be honest, I'm not a huge HK fan as a general rule, but there's been a couple things that I really like.
I've known those guys since they started getting into the game and stuff and started in the circuit. They've always been a lot of fun. I've had some good time. I really bonded with them a lot when those kids played with Legacy.
Right.
Because you got to give them credit because they pretty much got their ass handed to them every freaking tournament they went to playing under that banner, and they never stopped showing up and they never stopped trying and they never kept stop going at people. They
And
didn't
that's
play
awesome.
defensive. They just kept going at people. And I was like, okay, you got to respect that.
Absolutely. 100%. I couldn't agree with that more. And I did buy at COVID Cup, I bought the HK Boba Fett t-shirt for my son. I wanted one for
Ah,
myself as well, but I couldn't get one of my size because they were already sold out by the time I got to it. But yeah, my son is to this day upset that he grew because he can't wear that shirt anymore.
like I said earlier in the podcast, kids, if you're buying shirts at events these days, don't buy the size that fits you. Buy 2 to 3 sizes up so that it'll fit you later on when you really want to wear it.
Right, but my son wore it almost daily because it was
Hmm.
so cool because the Mandalorian was
Hmm.
all the rage, and
Yep.
um, so I had to make sure that I got him a shirt that fit because I mean he's literally just 16 now, so yeah. Anyway,
There you go. All right, buddy.
well, it's been a pleasure. You have a great night. I'm just going to shrink you down. I'm going to say my goodbyes, and then I'll come back to you real
Take
quick,
care.
and we'll. All right.
Take care. It was a pleasure to see you as always. And until next time, buddy. See you.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed. That is my show for tonight. I have no idea what I'm doing next week, but in the meantime, play with passion. And as always, keep your paint dry. Thanks for checking us out. Bye now.